Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. It's January 30th, 2026. We're very glad you're with us this morning. Please note this event is being recorded and will be uploaded to the Career USA YouTube channel to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2007, I started facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. This group's been around since the late 1990s. I took it over in 2007 when the prior leader landed a job. In 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org, a website to help those unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I launched careerusa.org to help those around the United States. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon. If you see me in person, I have copies with me. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team. Our agenda this morning will start out with success stories, then go to 30-second introductions for those here in the room, and then we'll do the 30-second introductions for those online. Then we'll hear from our committee reports, the interview success workshop, the practice interview team, the career tip of the week, and then our main event about the top of the hour. Well, we'd like to start the meeting off with good news. We do have donuts landed here. Thank you, Matthew Bianchin, who announced his landing last week, brought donuts for us this week. So everybody here, you're going to have to go back at least 2 or 3 times so we can eat them all up. Any other good news to announce online from anybody? Nope. All right. Well, move.
Hey, Jeff, we had another landing I learned of yesterday, but unfortunately can't give the person's name because they haven't started, so they want to withhold it. But just put another tick mark in the landing for 2026.
Okay. The unknown person. We'll find out. And I sort of like that because I've had people go and say, "Yeah, I've got a job." They're sending me the offer letter and they're ready to announce it, and I go, "No, no, no. Wait until it's a done deal." It's always good to do that. All right, for everybody who's on chat, if you will, open up your chat window. Give us your name, the position you're looking for. Give us 2 or 3 target companies we may be able to help you with. Your email, your LinkedIn address, if you'd like to, and companies. If you have companies that you can help people with, go ahead and list those, and we'll get all the information out to everybody in the Zoom chat, which I'll put out tomorrow. So if everybody will start typing away, I'll put 30 seconds on the clock. All right, keep typing away. Because the only way I know you're here for those online is if you don't at least put your email address in the chat window so I know you're with us. Okay. What we want to do now is we're going to do introductions for everybody who's here in the room. So Phil, you're still standing, so you can keep standing and come on down. You can be first since you're already standing. Everybody else, come on down. I don't know. Grab the mic. Yeah, just tilt that back a little bit. There you go. Yeah, turn it on. Push up.
Okay, all's well?
Yep.
Okay. Good morning. I'm Phil Elsner. I'm a PMP credentialed senior project manager. I love making sure that we get jobs done. Phil Elsner.
Good morning, y'all. My name is Tim Farrell. I'm an electrical design verification engineer. seeking work right now at target companies Northrop Grumman, BAE Systems, and Intel. I have contacts at Raytheon. Once again, my name is Tim Farrell. Thank you, sir.
Okay. And
Good morning.
see
My name is Todd Haney. I'm in customer success and implementation. I help companies solve problems with their customers. I need contacts for Tyler Technologies and Motorola Solutions. I have contacts in various North Texas school districts as well as through the Association for Talent Development. My name is Todd Haney.
Good morning. I'm David Turner. I'm an HR systems analyst specializing in SuccessFactors Employee Central Security. I don't need any contacts this week. I can potentially help with contacts at PepsiCo. My name is David Turner.
Did you bring a laptop? Okay.
Good morning. I'm Chris Holmes. I am a senior leader. I help
Well,
maximize technology investments by connecting business strategy to actionable roadmaps. I'm looking for senior manager or director level roles in IT portfolio governance. I need contacts at RDP Construction, and I can help with contacts at Southwest Airlines. My name is Chris Holmes.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Paul Hussar. That's H-U-S-A-R. I'm a Director VP of Customer Service and/or Technical Support. Crunchify, that's Crunch AFI, is looking for me. If you know someone, please help them find me. I can help with contacts at LG. I'm Paul Hussar.
Good morning. My name is Anthony Archery, Senior Retail Operation Merchandiser. Worked for Walmart 16 and a half years. I help companies drive great sales and make a lot of money. Anthony Archery.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mike Belzil. So I'm looking for a director and above role in data product management. So I'm looking for contacts specifically at Keurig Dr. Pepper and PepsiCo and 7-Eleven. So I have contacts at Walmart, Circana, and Epsilon. So my name is Mike Belzil.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Amy Mosteller. I am a senior brand advertising and marketing leader looking for senior manager or director roles. I'm looking for contacts at Capital One. I have contacts at AT&T. Again, my name is Amy Mosteller.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Misty Wallace. I'm a CRM manager. I'm looking for a CRM manager or a marketing project manager role. I have contacts at Expedia.com. My name is Misty Wallace.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Bindu Chalapalli. I'm looking for manager or director role in data engineering space. I need contacts at Molina Healthcare. I have contacts at Blue Cross Blue Shield. My name is Bindu Chalapalli.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Rovira. I'm looking for management roles in training and development or potentially senior instructional designer roles. My target company this week is Halo MD. I have contacts at Ernst & Young, Children's Health, and Tenet Health. And again, my name is Jennifer Rovira.
Great. Anybody else in the room who we've not had yet? Nope. Okay. All right. Let's go to everybody online. If you will, please raise your hand so that I can, only will call on you one time. So, Matthew, I'll let you go first.
No worries. Matthew Bianchi, I'm a business development director. I have contacts at Aramark. My target company going forward will be Sodexo. I am Matthew Bianchi.
Thank you. Miguel.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Miguel Castillo. Looking for a VP or a director in finance, deep expertise in financial planning and analysis. Need contacts this week at Target. I'm just reading here at Toyota. And I have contacts at American Airlines and Amazon. My name is Miguel Castillo.
Thank you. Brian McGovern.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Brian McGovern. I am looking for an HR coordinator or benefits coordinator position. And my targets this week are going to be at Higginbotham, Sonida Senior Living, Birchstone Residential, and Rolston Oil, if you know anyone there. And I have contacts at Corn Ferry, Mr. Cooper, and Hilton. And once more, my name is Brian McGovern. Thank you.
Thank you. William.
Good morning, everybody. My name is William McLaughlin, currently seeking a business analyst role, and two of my target companies are GameStop and Dave and Buster's. Again, my name is William McLaughlin. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Nikki.
Good morning. I am Nikki Duncan, a business operations leader and chief of staff. I am looking for contacts at small businesses who may need fractional support with operations chief of staff type tasks. I'll help anybody any way I can. My name is Nikki Duncan.
Let's see. I'm going to mess this up. Misra.
Thank you, Jeff. Good morning, everyone. This is Mirza Chuktai. I'm looking for a CEO role. I have contacts at Lenovo and Aero Electronics. I don't need any contacts at target companies this week. My target company this week is 16 South Capital Partners. My name is Mirza Chuktai.
Thank you. Tracy.
Good morning. My name is Tracy Harris. I'm a senior recruiter at Thomas Edwards Group. Some of you may know us from these other organizations as well, these org meetings. So happy to be with you guys today. Again, my name is Tracy Harris.
Thank you. Ron.
Let me get myself off mute. I am Ron Layton. I no longer work for a paycheck. That's AKA I'm retired. I spend the vast majority of my time leading the Dallas pit crew, helping you all learn how to interview better so that you can land your next job. You see the email and the phone number there in the chat. So we'd love to see you at the pit crew.
Thank you. Sheldon.
Good morning. Excuse me. Good morning, everybody. I'm Sheldon Weinstein. I'm a senior sales leader in the consumer packaged goods industry, really focusing on food and beverage. And I'm seeking a director level role or above in mid-sized growth companies in that $200 million to $2 billion range. Again, Sheldon Weinstein.
Thank you. Doris.
I'm Doris Davis. I'm looking for senior level roles, senior director, vice president roles at consumer packaged goods or restaurant type companies. I need contacts at 7-Eleven and Keurig Dr. Pepper. I have contacts at Walmart and Tyson Foods. My name is Doris Davis.
Thank you. Alkeisha.
Good morning, everyone. Alkeisha Rodriguez, a certified technical business analyst. Translate the technical into tangible to make it profitable. I have contacts at Verizon and Communities Foundation, and I'm looking for contacts at L3 and Cisco. Alkeisha Rodriguez.
Thank you. Rosina.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rosina Gallman, and I am your Career Tip of the Week host. So I'll be back in a few minutes. I'm looking for a position as a position. I currently don't need contacts this week because I'm finishing up my recertifications. And so I'll help anybody, whoever needs help with contacts that I may be able to help with. Just connect with me and take a look at my contacts and let me know. Again, my name is Rosina Gallman, Senior Talent Acquisition Business Partner or Senior Recruiter position. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Laurencia.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Laurencina Mason Aramalo. I am a learner and leadership development professional. I am looking for contacts at hospitals for learner and leadership development and training roles. I have contacts at Texas Women's University and Dallas College. I am Laurencina Mason Aramalo.
Thank you. Mary.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm Mary Menser. I'm a senior director for ERP, other large platform SaaS companies, as a professional services or PMO director. I have contacts at Oracle, NetSuite, and Epicor. I am looking for contacts at any Salesforce or Certinia consulting partner. I'm Mary Menser. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Scott. Hello, Scott. Hello, New Jersey. Texas to New Jersey. All right. Anybody else?
Sorry about that. I was having problems with my audio. Hello, I'm Scott Boudreau, certified planning, inventory management, looking for a supply chain job in central New Jersey or remotely. If it has a part number, I can manage it. If it doesn't, I'll create one. Scott Boudreau.
Thank you. Florence. You're muted.
Right. Hi, everyone. Good morning, everyone. This is Florence. My background is I help business leaders define their strategy and help business leaders guide their strategy through the utilization of market research, competitive intelligence, and market intelligence. This week, I am my target company is Baylor Scott and White. And again, my name is Florence Hogan.
Thank you. Anybody else online? Going once, going twice. I see a couple names online and you haven't raised your hand. All right. Okay, let's see what I got next. Job leads. Tracy, what's going on in Thomas Edwards?
Yeah, we've actually had quite an influx in contract to hire roles lately. Still, again, mostly in the accounting space. But we have gotten a few other roles. I'm trying to highlight some of the non-accounting roles. We do have a permanent role for a wireless product tester for one of our clients. We've got a multi-state audit project. And various other roles. We got a couple HR roles as well, an HR manager, HR analyst role, HRIS analyst role. So those are ones that I'll highlight other than the accounting finance roles that we've got.
All right, Tracy. Thank you very much for being with us.
I'll fix this soon.
All right, we're getting our speaker's computer set up. All right. All right.
Okay, you should be muted.
Ron, will you talk about the practice interview team?
I sure will. The practice interview team, our mission is to help you get across the finish line. That means get a job. We do that through mock interviews. But just like this meeting, we also are a networking group. So you'll get a chance to introduce yourself there, as well as learn whether or not anybody around you may have contacts, because we're finding more and more people are getting that. We really have two goals. First goal is to help you increase your confidence in that interview. And number two, learn how to differentiate yourself so that you can get that job offer. We meet every single Wednesday in person, except for the fourth Wednesday of the month where we meet online via Zoom. We're typically 3 weeks out. We do have some openings now. So if you want an interview, let us know. We can get you in earlier than normal. The email you see on the board there is dallaspitcrew@gmail.com. That is how you get in touch with us. And there's a phone number there as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right. Walt, you ready?
Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Walt Glass, and I like to help you with interviewing skills. Now, the pit crew does mock interviews, which I heartily recommend that you do. I'm also a panelist on the pit crew as well. But when I first took an interview back in the year 2000, after 25 years of work, a lot of us have worked many years, then we got laid off and we found out that job search is a whole new ballgame. Well, so is interviewing. No, it's not. Interviewing is the same. It's really the same fundamentals that we've always had. And so what are the fundamentals? Well, since it's a selling presentation, how do we sell ourselves? And so that's what the Interview Success Workshop is all about. I've decided to charge a fee, and that fee is the job. When you get a job, you will have paid me back. Okay? Otherwise, it's free. So get that job. But look me up on LinkedIn. The About section gives you details about the workshop. You can sign up with this QR code. It'll start an email to me, to my Yahoo email address, which is also found on my banner page on LinkedIn. Just send me a note, say I'd like to register for the workshop. Now, I do it on Tuesdays from 9 to 11 Central Time on Zoom. I want to do 2 people at a time. You interview each other, I take notes, and then we go back through and look and say, how can we increase our ability to sell ourselves with our responses? Now, it's not all bad, okay? But we do want to move from the responding mindset to the selling mindset. So how do we do that? So that's what the workshop is about. It's very informal. It is a learning interview. It's not a mock interview. So it's a come as you are party. You are where you are in your interviewing skills. Just come on in. It doesn't matter. I've had executives all the way down, professionals, and everybody's come. It's great for you to participate. The idea is, can we have fun while we're learning? Does it have to be stressful? Do we have to squeeze our cheeks because we're worried about we might mess up or something? No, we don't have to do that. We can simply just sit there and learn and enjoy the learning interview. So send me that email, and I need your phone number. I'll have your email address and how you learned about the workshop. And I'll be glad to contact you and get you on the schedule. So, you know what next Monday is? Well, next Monday is Groundhog Day with his weather prognosticating way. Well, with job search, there is a way. By practicing interview an hour every day, we can celebrate the offer with a hearty hooray. I am Walt Glass.
All right. Thank you very much, Walt. Time for the career tip of the week. Good morning, Rosina.
Good morning, Jeff. Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. So glad to be here with you. All right. This week's tip of the week is a very, very long one. So I'm just going to hit the highlights and then let you have an opportunity to read the full article because it is chocked full of information. So this week's tip of the week is January brings a 300% spike in job applications. 5 ways to beat the competition. So you've been waiting for the right time to start and I'm sorry, back up. This job article is by the Interview Guys, and the article is from November 23rd of 2025. So keep that in frame of reference. You've been waiting for the right time to start your job search. You told yourself you'd begin after the holidays, once companies have their new budgets and hiring managers return from vacation. Well, guess what? So did everyone else. So January isn't just a popular time to look for a job. It's the most competitive competitive month of the entire year. Application volumes can spike by 200 to 300% compared to December, turning every job posting into a battlefield. But there's good news. While most job seekers are making predictable mistakes, you're about to learn the strategies that actually work. The data tells a compelling story where job openings have rebounded to 8.1 million and the quit rate just hit 2.1%, the highest level since May of 2024. And that means people are confident enough to leave their current roles, creating fresh opportunities. Companies are activating new budgets and finally filling positions that they froze in Q4. The jobs are there. The question is, how do you stand out when thousands of other candidates are applying for the same roles? So by the end of this article, you'll understand exactly why January is different, what strategies separate successful job seekers from the pack, and how to time applications for maximum impact. Whether you're currently employed and looking for making a move or actively searching for your next opportunity, these insights will help you navigate the busiest hiring season of the year. So let's start by understanding why January is so uniquely challenging and full of opportunity. The key takeaways from this article is January is the most competitive hiring month, with application volumes spiking up to 300% as new budgets activate and job seekers flood the market. Job openings rebounded to 8.1 million in the latest data, with a quit rate hitting 2.1%, which is the highest since May of 2024, signaling renewed confidence. The early bird gets the interview. Applying in late December or the first week in January beats the mid-January rush when competition peaks. And then quality beats quantity in January. strategic personalized applications to 5 to 10 target companies outperform mass applying to 50 generic postings. You don't want to do that. So with these strategies, the 5 strategies that actually work in January, let's cut through the generic advice and focus on what really separates successful January job seekers from everyone else fighting for the same position. So strategy number 1, you want to apply in late December. Seriously. The biggest mistakes that job seekers make is waiting until January 2nd to start applying. Well, under this segment or under that section, there are a lot of different strategies that you can use to be able to start your application process in December. Well, obviously we're at the end of January, so that puts us in a different point in this article. Strategy number 2, you want to go hyper targeted instead of mass applying. When you know thousands of other people are applying to the same jobs, quantity makes a losing strategy. Quality is what wins. And there are several strategies and tips that are listed under this segment as well. Strategy number 3, activate your network like your career depends on it. January isn't just busy for job applications. It's also prime time for networking because everyone's back from the holidays and feeling social. So lots of tips under that segment. Strategy 4, perfect your application materials because details matter more. When hiring managers are reviewing 200 plus applications instead of the usual 50, small details become a major differentiator. So again, take a look at that section for a lot of tips and strategies. And then strategy number 5, master the speed to response game. In January's high competition environment, responding faster than any other candidate gives you a massive advantage. And so lots of tips under there. Now, I said at the very beginning that this article is very long. So other things that are contained in the article are under the topics of, or the titles of, why January is the busiest hiring month of the year, what the numbers say about January hiring. Again, the 5 strategies that actually work in January, the industries and roles where January hiring is strongest, common mistakes that kill January job searches. If you miss the January window, here's some ideas of what to do. And then taking action on your January job search. What to do this week, next week, week 3, and week 4. And then last, still using an old resume template, there are some AI-proof resume templates that the interview guys offer in their article. So that is this week's career tip of the week. Again, starting off with January brings a 300% spike in job applications by ways to beat the competition. But like I said, read the whole article. It is full of lots of tips and information that you definitely can glean from. So have yourself a fantastic weekend, everybody.
Rosina, thank you very, very, very much. All right, today for lunch, we're going to go to Country Burger. Join us at 1145, 3115 West Parker Road, the northwest corner of Parker and Independence. They've got burgers, chicken sandwiches, salad, and more. If you want this hamburger, you have to bring your own sliced ham because they don't have that. But I'm sure if you ask them, they'll make it for you. All right. If you want to receive today's materials, you'll get a copy of the speaker's presentation. You get a link to the YouTube video that gets posted this afternoon. You'll get a copy of the career tip of the week that Rosina just read, which is full of information. You'll get a copy of the Zoom chat. To make sure you've done that for those people who are here in person, make sure you've checked your name off on the roster, or if you're brand new, fill out the little white slip of paper. And if it's legible, you'll get invited tomorrow when I add everybody to the contact list. And for everybody online, please make sure your email address is in the chat somewhere. If you only want to put your name and your email address, that's fine. But I do this to update the roster. All right. All right. I want to thank Nikki as I do every week for lining up our speakers, and I'll let you introduce our speaker.
Okay, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Today's speaker is Dr. Brenda L. Carter. She is a business psychologist and Fortune 500 HR executive. Brenda is a recognized expert in leadership development, culture transformation, and talent management. She spent over 15 years in the behind-the-scenes decisions of who gets hired, who gets promoted, and who leads. As a senior leader in global organizations, she's directed talent and leadership portfolios for over 65,000 managers, giving her a rare behind-the-scenes perspective on exactly what organizations look for in top talent. Dr. Carter doesn't just teach interviewing, she specializes in the art of influence. She leverages her background in organizational psychology and her experience managing high-stakes executive succession planning to teach professionals how to own their narrative. By decoding the psychology behind corporate talent selection, she empowers job seekers to move beyond standard answers and demonstrate true executive presence. Today, she shares the same influence strategies she used to deliver over $30 million in leadership value and coach senior executives transitioning into the C-suite, helping you navigate your career transition with authority and confidence. Welcome, Dr. Brenda.
Thank you. Good morning. It's
Good
good to
morning.
see everybody. So first, let me share my screen so that you can see today's presentation. Okay, can everybody see the presentation? Okay, perfect. Okay, well, good morning. And good morning, especially to those that are
I'm
in.
sorry. This is Alkeisha Online. There is a black bar to your left that we see. I'm not quite sure if it's an alignment thing
Oh,
or there's something blocking the camera.
Yeah, blocking the camera.
There's a vertical black bar.
oh,
There we go. Yeah, something still. Mm-mm. Is there something in front of the camera on the right side, right where Jeff's
Right where
face
you are, Jeff.
is?
Yeah.
Mhm.
There we
There we
Okay,
go.
there you
There
go.
we
It's
go.
gone. Wonderful. Thank you.
so what I was going to say is also thank you for those that are in person because I had cabin fever all weekend with the snow and I was like, yay, I have somewhere to go on Friday. Yes. So thank you. And thank you to those online as well. So, Nikki did a great job introducing me, so I don't need to go that far. But today what we're going to talk about is the art of influence, but specifically when you're interviewing. And I do not like to do the normal textbook interview prep type of stuff. So we're going to really do a lot of double clicks and I'm going to show you how to leverage AI to help you prep. Okay. So number one, the thing that you got to know is that when it comes to interviews, it's all about clarity and it's all about being able to express your value, right? And so just really quickly, a little fun story that I always like to share is about I would say 13 years ago when me and my husband, we were a pretty young family. My oldest she was 8 at the time, and she had gotten an all expense paid free luxury trip to Nana and Papa's house. So they're out of state. So she wasn't with us that summer. And so my two youngest, who are twins, Jonathan and Paige, they were 3 at the time. And so anyone with multiple kids, one kid, I don't care if a kid is in the story, it's about survival of the fittest, especially when you are a young married couple, right? So we believe in structure. So we said, okay, this is how we're going to wrestle them down for the day, right? So we're going to take them out. We're going to go to the park. We're going to feed them in the car because you can't take them to a restaurant. They're going to cut up and we ain't got the money anyway. And If we leave them outside, they're just going to run amok. So we'll feed them in the car and then we'll go walk around the block. Maybe look at a couple of houses that they had open because it was a new community. So we put them in the car and they're having a great time listening to Kids Bop. And now it's time to feed them. So we go ahead, we feed them their peanut butter and jelly, wipe their little hands. And, I reach over to unbuckle them from their car seat so that by the time we get out the car, they can just hop their little miniature tyrant selves on out and we can go on about our day. So unbuckle them. I come out of the car. My husband comes out of the car. I go towards the back. I try to open up the door. It's not opening. It's not opening at all. So I look at my husband and I'm like, okay, maybe his door's open. No, his door is not opening. So of course I go to the front side of the car where I just came out of. Surely that's open. No. Husband, what about your side? No. Where are the keys? Right there on the car seat. Right. So now we're in the back and we're like, we got to get these kids out of the car. Right. Because like I said, we were a young, struggling family. So we had an old school car. Right. So it's not like you have the automatic locks. No, you got to pull it up. Right. So my husband is over where my son is, Jonathan, and he's like trying to get his attention. Right. And he's like, Jonathan, press the lock. See that right there? See the button? Because we're hoping either you press the button to roll the window down, because at least it was new enough to have a button to roll it down, or that he would take his little fingers and pull it up. I've seen him destroy many things in my life. Surely you can pull up this lock, right? So my husband's like, see, do this, do this. What does my son think? He thinks this is the absolute best game of YMCA he's ever seen in his life. Right. So I'm on the other side and I'm looking at my daughter Paige and I'm like, all right, you're my girl. Come on. You're not as like all out there like your brother. You don't destroy things. You know how to listen to when I say, hey, put this in the trash and you go do it. Right. So let's try this. Right. So I'm like doing the whole like, okay, see that? See that? Paige is like, huh? I'm like, do this. And she's like, I think mommy is trying to teach me mime for toddlers. I like this. I'm going to do the same exact movements above the lock. I am not going to touch the lock. So mind you, after playing toddler charades for about 15 minutes, somebody was kind enough to see these two distressed parents outside trying to get the kids to open the door. So what did they do? If you're old school, you know this is going to work. They got us a wire hanger. There was a slight little opening in the window where my husband was able to slide the wire hanger down and he was able to get the door open. Now, of course, my kids lived because they are standing right here healthy and they probably eat all your donuts. Okay. Okay. But here's the thing. Why do I share that story? Because a lot of times when it comes to interviewing, it can feel like, hold on, I don't know what that is. Yeah, tomorrow. I don't know what that is. All right, there we go. A lot of times it can feel really, really hard, right? Because when you think about influence, what are you trying to do? You're trying to influence an outcome, right? We were trying to influence the outcome of getting that car door open. And yes, although the story is funny, the stakes were high. And it's the same thing with interviewing, right? And so sometimes you can feel like you are playing a corporate game of Simon Says, right? The corporations want this. The corporations want this. Do you have this? Yes, you're out. And you're like, huh? And when you really understand what's making you feel nervous, like from the moment you get the interview, you get excited, but then you get anxious afterwards because you're trying to prepare, but you don't exactly know how to prepare, right? Because you care about the outcome. We have bills, you have stuff that need to be taken care of. So you really want a positive outcome. The other thing is you don't know the questions they're going to ask you. You might know maybe like the first two, tell me about yourself. And then the last one, do you have any questions for me? But everything in between, you don't know what curveballs. Anybody ever been taken off guard in an interview by like a curveball question? If it feels like you just got knocked out, because like, dang, right? And it's always the random one. It's not one that's like you can ever prep for, you can ask chat about. It's always super duper random, right? And so that's what makes us then feel like, man, do I really know how to interview? Even after you've spent probably hours, weeks preparing. But here's the thing that I've learned. What I've learned is that when you step back for a second and you look at the interview from a learning experience standpoint, you actually realize that each interview and the job description and every person you talk to, even the screener, they're all giving you data points. And how you leverage those data points becomes important. But if you let your anxiety speak louder, you're not going to be able to hear the different data points so you can update your strategy. So what is influence? Well, first and foremost, influence is not about perfection. It's not about crossing T's. It's not about dotting I's. It is about alignment. I'll say that again. It is not about perfection. It is about alignment. Because when you are influencing, you are helping people understand how you think, what you bring to the table, where you fit, all of the things that signal, hey, I'm your girl, I'm your guy. And usually when you are able to properly influence in the interview, the little blunders, the little mistakes, they bypass all of that because they see your value. When you try to overly prepare from a lens of perfection, you end up overcompensating. And that can have a negative effect when you're interviewing. So when you think about what interviewers are looking for, they're trying to find out, can I trust this person to handle the problems that we face on my team, in my region, department, whatever specific job you're looking for? Then, do they understand what matters here? I like to translate that into, do you understand the pain points? And I'll talk a little bit more later about pain points and how to leverage those. And then, can I picture them and trust them to solve the problem that we have or any new problems that could come on the horizon that I suspect we might have? And so that's what you are trying to project. And so this is why alignment becomes more important than perfection. So because I understand that influence can feel like super vague, I developed a 7-pillar explanation almost and strategy for building influence. And so I call it my inner authority method, because you cannot influence on the outside what you have not established on the inside, right? And so it takes clarity and awareness. And there's a lot of work that you have to do internally first before you can show up and start influencing externally. So today we're going to talk about 3 of the 7. So first we're going to talk about illuminate. So what is illuminate? Illuminate is basically owning your contribution, your clarity, and your voice. You got to get real clear about who you are and what you bring to the table. Because if you're not clear, your interviewer will not be clear either. Next, we'll talk about how to anchor, because once you're clear, now you need to anchor to the purpose of the room. What's important to them? And based off of what's important to them, what can I offer them? And then last is curating, how to strategically select which stories to share in your interview, because not all stories are needed for every single interview. You only want the right ones. So first, let's talk about illuminate. Okay, so quick question. It just snowed. I'm not sure if everyone else, if it snowed where you were, but let's just say you found this rock in your backyard. What would you do with it? Just somebody say it out loud. What would you do with if you saw this rock in your backyard after the snow? Throw it over the fence? Okay. Anybody else? Oh, just leave it? Okay. I like that answer. Because guess what? This was inside that rock. That is a 24 karat gold nugget. That is many of you. Because you have a lot of rock on the outside. And you don't necessarily always realize the gold that's on the inside. And depending on the situation that landed you into not having a job, you could be believing that you're rock because that's how you were treated. Right? And so this is why oftentimes when you're interviewing, talking about yourself feels awkward because many of you are starting to see yourselves as rock and you haven't started the process of extracting your gold. Right? And especially if you had a manager who took advantage or who didn't like you or whatever, your strengths might have been reframed as weaknesses. And so now you see yourself as someone to be thrown over the fence or just left outside. Think about that gold nugget for a second. If you saw that on your backyard, are you throwing that out? Absolutely not. Right? But it didn't have to explain to you what it was. It's very clear that it's valuable. Right? So the other part about when you are in rock form is that you tend to now over-explain your qualifications because you're really trying to say, hey, I'm not the rock that I look like. I really do have gold in me. But the problem is that you haven't done the extracting. So now it takes more work to convince, right? And so when you think about great interviewing skills, it takes a lot of practice, but it also requires a lot of self-awareness, right? Because if you do not understand your gold, you will not know how to show your gold. Okay. And so this is why I came up with this portion called Illuminate. Now, the other thing is that when you are interviewing, you have to be committed to continuous improvement, specifically in the area of communication. Okay. And so we'll talk about that a little bit more on the specifics of how. So, parsing out your gold, how do you get the gold out of the rock? Well, I know like back in the day, before we had technological advances, they'd say, email 3 of your coworkers or your friends and ask them what sets you apart, right? Well, depending on how they feel about me, they'll be like, yeah, I could tell you what sets you apart. You get on my nerves, right? Then it's kind of like when you do that, you're leaving it up to chance because you're still looking to someone else to say, well, tell me what you see. But what happens when their lenses are off? Because sometimes they don't 100% see all of the gold either. Sometimes they don't see the gold in themselves. So when, and I've been in job transition as well. And once AI had came on the scene, and I remember I used to try to do that exercise of trying to see what I had to offer. But then it was like, well, maybe I can use AI. And so I came up with this method of parsing out the gold. So the first thing I did, and this is the same thing, and this is really important. So please make sure you do this because this step is what unlocks all of the other steps. Okay. So the first thing you do is what I call memory recall. If you have a transcription app, Otter or whatever, or let's just say you have like a note taker, you can do like a meeting with yourself, let your note taker join, okay? So that way it transcribes. And I want you to talk about all of the jobs you've had from A to Z endlessly. Because the great thing about AI is it doesn't tell you to shut up and it doesn't get tired. So you can babble all you want, get it out. That's why it's called a dump. Okay. After you do your full data dump, right? And before that, one step before that, the memory recall, as you're talking, your memory should start getting jogged on things that you even forgot about, even little portions of the role that you might have forgot that you did. Go ahead and let all of the memory come up and in detail state what you did, what the results were, all of the things. Then, once you are finished with that data dump and you have it on a document to transcribe, I want you to upload it into AI. Whichever AI service you use, that's fine. Upload it into AI. The reason why is because now this is one of your source documents for how you will create your story bank, your approach for what you do when you're networking. Like, it helps to help you even see who you are, right? Because there's certain times where there's stuff you totally missed, and then AI is like, oh, you did this, this, and this. You're like, I never looked at it like that. So do that data dump, and then you're going to ask AI, build my job story bank. You can build it based off star. You can build whatever you want. Okay. Because at least now when you're practicing, you have a new way of seeing your story bank. Here are some additional prompts. Okay. And these are important. When you upload that transcript, you can now say to AI, what are the top 3 things that make me uniquely valuable based off of this transcript? So that way, if you are an innovator and you couldn't put your finger on it, now it's more clear. You can even say to AI, can you show me where you got that from? And it will pull it from your transcript. Well, you did this, you did this, you did this. Oh, wow, I am an innovator, right? Another one you can do is based on like the transcript, can you give me my 30-second, pitch? Can you give me the one-liner that I can use when I'm networking? You can even say, can you craft my about me? Right? So that your about me is more targeted. Okay. So this is a source file where you can now go back into that chat and you can talk about so many different things. I will share with you a little bit later about where the job description comes in with this. Okay. And so as a recap of Illuminate, you are trying to reveal so that you can refine. Okay. It's not about creating brilliance. It's about uncovering what was already there. And sometimes you need a totally fresh lens and a whole new way of looking at what you have. Okay, so next we're going to talk about anchoring. Anchoring is pretty much taking all of that value that you just discovered, and now you have to align it with what the room needs. Because when you have an interview, there is a specific need that they have. And you want to make sure that everything you have that you offer aligns with that. Okay. So part of that is number one, we've done the internal clarity piece. So that piece has to be established. Next, you need to start looking into what's the external need and relevance of the room. So when I'm approaching this interview and have already been scheduled, who is in the room? Because depending on who's in the room, that'll help you understand what perspective they're going to have, but that can also begin to clue you into what pain point they're going to show up having, right? The other thing is that you're going to be able to understand a little bit more clearly, what is this room valuing? Because if you can understand what the room is valuing, now you can tailor a little bit more. Because if they value, let's just say they value strategic thought, it's not to say that you won't highlight your ability to execute, but you might turn down the execution a little bit to amp up your strategic ability. Okay. Now, I mentioned to you the job description and why this becomes important, because on the job description, there are often indicators of what they value and where their pain points are. Okay. And so when you look at like a job description, anything mentioned between 2 or more times, that's probably higher priority. Well, back in the day, I used to read through the job description and take a highlighter and highlight the things in different colors based on how frequently they were mentioned. Well, you don't have to do that. Upload the job description into AI and ask AI to run an analysis on the language to call out the top 3 pain points. You might even say the top 4. Ask it for proof. Why? What makes you identify this as a pain point? Okay. The other thing is you can confirm that when you have your screener, because when the recruiter reaches out to you for the interview, you should already have had the job description, right? And you can then take what AI said and you can say, hey, okay, so am I hearing this correctly? Based off of the job description, these seem to be the top 3 pain points, and you can confirm. And not only are you confirming, you're getting context because they're always going to tell you what's going on. So now you have way more information than what you had before. So now you're able to align your stories better to the context, to what they're facing and what they're dealing with. And so this is why anchoring is so important, because for each interview, you have to understand what each one is looking for. So recruiters, right, like the screeners, they're looking for readiness. They're looking for fit. Then as you progress on to the next few rounds, the hiring managers, they're listening for your problem solving. And then when you start interviewing with the team, they're listening for collaboration. So with each new person that you're interviewing with, you're going to have to adjust the lens. You don't want to share the same interview style and approach that you had with a recruiter. You don't want to use that on the hiring managers because you're going to miss the mark, right? So after each interview, you should be updating your approach and your strategy. Also, after each interview, you probably, if you're listening really well, you will notice there are new indicators because they always tell a story, even when they're asking you a question. When they're asking you, how do you deal with this? That's an indicator. That's an indicator of what they're dealing with. Okay. So this is why it's important to always listen actively during the interview. As I already mentioned, you should always be adapting your strategies because every new interview, there's new people in the room. They're going to have a newer perspective and they're going to want to hear what you have to say that fits to them, right? That shows the alignment. So when you think about what makes a strong candidate, what makes a hiring manager and a team get excited about the person they're about to hire? Well, number one, strong candidates talk about the decisions, not just the task. Okay. What are the decisions you had to make in order to get the results that you got? Then they also explain how they approach the problem. Because remember what I said earlier, the interviewers are looking for how you think, how you solve. So when you're showing them how you think, it also helps them to feel more confident that you can handle what they go through on the day-to-day. The other thing is they're looking for you to connect your experiences with the outcomes. What were the results? It's not just, I did A, B, and C. No, what were the results because of what you did? And that's also where I have found that a lot of us still have hidden gold because we know what we did, we didn't know how it impacted. And so that's where you can go back to the transcript and you can begin to ask chat, hey, can you help me calculate some of my results? Number one, in my industry, what are some good KPIs that I need to be speaking to? What are some good key performance indicators that I should be automatically having on hand? Then how do I calculate it for myself? And then, chat can begin to walk you through how to calculate that. The other thing is that they align experience to pain points, industry problems, but they talk about them from the side of being the solution, not the pain point identifier. And sometimes it's easy, especially when you're trying to connect, right? Like you start talking about the pain point and you're like, man, yeah, I have that too. You're missing a valuable opportunity to show your gold. Here's how I've handled this. And here are the results that I was able to gain. Okay. So, as a recap, you want to clarify your strengths. You want to get very clear about what you have to offer. But then you want to be very intentional about how you show up by aligning what you have to offer with the need of the room. Okay. And when you show up aligning that expertise, now you start to create this feeling of this is a good candidate. And now you start getting invited back to more interviews. And every interview, you're going to do the same work all over again. But it just gets easier because now you're not flying in the dark as much. All right. So next, we are going to talk about curate. So curating, it is the internal practice of selecting and how you amplify the strengths that best serve the room. Now, the reason why this is important is because I like to tell my my interview clients, because what they'll do sometimes is they will, of course, because especially if you haven't had an interview in a very long time, they want to give you everything. It's like, I want to dump everything to you, hoping that you just see I just have this wealth of value. And I liken it like going into a jewelry store for the ladies, right? So when you go into a jewelry store, if you notice, the jewelry store, they put the best lighting on their most expensive stuff because that's where they want you to go. They don't put bells and whistles and highlights in the corner where all of the sale products are. It's not to say you won't walk over there, but 9 times out of 10, you're going to still approach that area first. Same thing in an interview. For the fellas, it's like having tools. Yes, you have a hammer. Yes, you have a wrench. Yes, you have a Phillips. But this role does not require a hammer. It requires the Phillips. So you don't show up with the hammer. You might have it in your toolbox, but you're going to show up with maybe different types, different heads, right? So it's the same thing when you're curating. And so when you think about curating, just so that way you can understand the flow of it, it's strategically selecting and shaping your professional presence. How do I want to be perceived? Okay, so consider the room, consider what they're needing, and then choose how you want to present or project who you are. Choose which authentic part of you. And the reason why I have authentic in bold is because one thing I always have to tell people is that being authentically you, there are different versions of your authentic self. A great example, somebody that you might love and respect, like your grandfather or your grandmother, you're going to engage with them differently than how you would your best friend when you're out on a Saturday night, right? Both are still you. They're just different expressions of you. So it's okay where in certain settings, you only bring forth certain portions that are befitting for the environment. So if you are in an interview and you know that in your industry, they are looking for problem solvers, and you know, not only am I a problem solver, but I could take it a step further. I'm a thought leader, right? So now, as I'm preparing and I'm thinking about my answers and I'm thinking about my stories, I will push to the front the stories that show me as problem solver to answer the basic question, is she a problem solver? But also as thought leader, because I want to take you a little bit further to let you know I'm more than just a problem solver, right? And so when you think about that, and you can even go back to your transcript to say, okay, what are the different ways I've seemed to, based off of what you've seen in based off the transcript, that I come off, right? Do I come off as an innovator? Do I come off as a problem solver? Do I come off as a strategist? Do I come off as a great collaborator, right? If you are interviewing for another role that is a level up from where you are, I do have a caution. You will need to update how you come off. So if you're going from, let's just say, an individual contributor, or you're going from an analyst to a manager, you're going to have to show different skills than just, I do the task, I complete the task, that's it, right? Now you have to start using different language. So how do we get to the language part? How do we get to now knowing how to properly leverage our stories to align with what we want to project and what the room needs? Well, number one, do not share every job you've ever performed. Only share what is relevant to the role. I've had some people when they, talk about when I'm interview coaching, and I'll just ask them cold, so tell me about yourself. And they'll take me from fourth grade all the way up. And it's like, okay, so we definitely need to become more targeted, right? Because there's different ways that you can share your about me. You can choose the chronological, or you can choose like projects or experiences that are like high impact. And what you can do is you can truncate down the introduction and say, well, I've started out as a change manager. I worked at Avon and all of the things, but really where the bulk of my experience comes from is when I worked at Pepsi and I deployed a program that impacted over 65,000 leaders. So see how I'm able to fast track you so that way I can get you to exactly where I want you to focus. So I'm taking you past the little jury over there, and I'm bringing you right to where I want you to talk. The other thing is that this gives you control of the interview. So there's something that I normally like to do in my about me, and you can choose whatever you want, but I like to put like the Easter eggs in my about me, because when you think about it about me, they usually give you like 5 minutes, right? Well, in 5 minutes, that gives me enough time. I can even truncate it down to 4 minutes. Tell me about yourself. Okay. And when I tell you about myself, I put that 65,000. I worked at Pepsi. I worked at here. I worked at there. And so I'm really known as a thought leader and an innovator in this space. Land your plane. After you land your plane, they're like, ooh, okay, so tell me about, and what are they going to ask me about? They are going to ask me about the experience I just stated in my about me. So now I've taken some of the ambiguity out of the interview because I know how to talk about my work in and out, left and right. So you want to ask me about the different things I did at PEP? Do you want to ask me about the different things I did in change management? because now I've led you into the direction. And it's not derailing the interview because my whole about me is tailored towards what you're interviewing me for. Now, it doesn't get rid of all ambiguity, but it does allow a reduction of the ambiguity, which then helps you to not feel so anxious, right? The other thing is you want to always highlight stories that relate to their top pain points. And you know that you've done that when they start shaking their head, right? When you've mashed on it. So that's why you're kind of like, when you talk about pain points, you're kind of being a doctor and you're mashing on the pain to get a reaction. But you're not mashing on the pain just to get a reaction. You're then going to diagnose it and be like, yeah, I know what that is. Okay, so what you're talking about is, and then start giving solution. Start writing the prescription, okay? The other thing is you need to make sure that you're using the right language. And this is really big, especially if you're going for a higher role. Of course, you know the industry jargon. And of course, we know do not use acronyms, right? I get that. But when you're going from one level to the next, maybe you're going from manager to director, management language is going to sound lower than director language, because director language is going to sound more strategic. You're going to hear different parts of the project than what you probably worked on. It's not that you weren't exposed to it, and it's not even that you necessarily didn't touch it and didn't do it. It's just you did it with a manager level awareness. So what you'll do is you will ask chat to help you with your language. Where am I still talking about myself at this lower level? Give me the upgraded language and tell me the swap. Why you use the language you use versus the language I was using. Because what it'll do is it'll help you learn. You're not just trying to replace the wording, you're trying to understand why it's replaced. Because when you understand the why, the language will come more naturally to you and it won't feel like you're counterfeit. So, why do we sometimes overshare when we're talking about our stories? Well, number one, we want to be understood, and we're hoping and praying that we are conveying the value. But this is why it's important to parse out your gold, because you won't have to over-explain. You will know how to talk, but then also you'll learn the value of strategic silence, when to land your plane, and let your words do the work. What you said, let it land. There's also the fear of being overlooked, and there is the anxiety of trying to cover every single base. But when you are aligned and when you know your goal, that begins to take all of that nuance out of the equation. And now you get to come from a place of confidence. And confidence, super easy to see. Not arrogance, confidence. So here's a great exercise for us to do. So let's just say we have a marketing manager, right? The role is they're looking for a marketing manager and they want them to specialize in crisis and reputation support. Okay. And so based off of the JD, the role seems to be signaling that they need someone that responds to high pressure situations, works closely with leadership and communications, and protects brand trust during sensitive moments. Now, if a person, a candidate who is in marketing and does crisis management, if they are interviewing, tell me which of their professional experience and stories would go best with this role. So you have a digital marketing campaign where they increased click-through rates by 30% using A/B testing. B, an advertising project where they managed multiple vendors and hit tight deadlines. C, a PR experience where they supported leadership during a public issue, helping draft messages, coordinated responses under time pressure. D, a sales role where they built client relationships and exceeded quarterly targets. Or E, a marketing automation project where they implemented new tools to streamline workflows. Which one is the best story for them to choose? You can say it out loud. C. Now, does that mean all of the other stories were bad? No, they just weren't as relevant, right? And so you want to make sure that your stories are aligned just like that. I have one more. Okay, so role number 2, you have a operations coordinator. And for this role, they need someone to help deliver a critical project on time, in scope, and on budget. The role signals that they want someone who's able to manage tight timelines and stakeholders, bring order to the complexity, and ensure execution, follow through, and coordination. Okay, so which of this person's experiences and stories best align? So A, a customer-facing role where you handled objections and maintained strong relationships. An ideation phase of a project to establish a new governance model. A leadership moment where you coached peers through change. A cross-functional project where you tracked deliverables, coordinated teams, adjusted plans when issues arose, and ensured completion. Or a technical task where you learned a new system quickly and was able to increase production. Which one? D. So this is just a good practice for how to take your story bank that you've created and align it. Okay, another thing is when you upload the job description into AI, you can now ask AI based off of the transcript, can you please parse out my best stories and frame them, give me the story bank, the language in the way that this job description is saying that they need it. And then you can start to practice speaking like that and pulling out those stories. You can even say, why are you choosing this story over this story? So that you can understand for yourself why these are your best stories to lead with. And so as a recap of Curate, you want to identify which strengths are relevant right now in this interview for this role. You want to select the qualities that you want to amplify. Am I the strategist? Am I the connector? Who do I want to show up as? What are they going to need? You want to pre-plan your stories so that you can showcase the right gifts, the right capabilities, the right value points. And you want to balance authenticity with adaptability. It's okay to tailor your stories. They are still all authentically you. Just really quickly, as we get ready to close out, your interview is a learning tool. So after every interview, these are some questions that you should be running as a recap in your mind. What seemed to have landed? Because that lets you know where you are on the barometer. Like the way I told this story, or this story seemed to be a really good fit. So you want to know what landed. What did they seem to lean in on and focus in the most? Where did they start asking you more questions? Because that's another indicator, right? And that's also a place where you might need to tighten up or where you do well on because you sparked interest. What questions did they ask? Because as you're looking at the questions, and you're staying in the same industry, you're going to start to notice, oh, they're all asking similar questions. And as you're practicing, it becomes easier for you to answer those questions. And then always capture what threw you off, if anything. And you might notice the more you're practicing, the more you're doing this, the less you're getting thrown off. Just a little thing that I like to do, if you can. When you have your interview, see if you are allowed to allow your note taker to join. Like, even if it's like, oh, I'm sorry, accidental, right? Here's the reason why. If you can, and if you're allowed to record the interview, at least now you get the transcript of the interview and you can do a post-interview analysis. How were my answers? Where could I tighten up? Okay. And so if you're allowed to, it really does help. It also helps because you can say, hey, what are the new pain points that we didn't discuss before that seem to have bubbled up in the interview? And you may find that it was spot on. There are no new ones. And so now when you get the next interview, you know how to show up even that much more because you're using all of this stuff as a data point. If you cannot record, that's fine. Just right after the interview, once your nerves calm down, go back and take notes because it's easy for things to leave your mind if you wait too long. So try to take the notes right after the interview. Here are a couple of bonus AI prompts that I like. Some call it a glutton for punishment. I call it extreme preparation. So number one, if you're able to record the interview, you can ask in that AI prompt that you're going to do to upload the transcript, how might a top candidate have answered the question they asked me differently? Because think about it. We don't get to join the interview of the person or the peoples that have beat us out before. So this is the closest thing that you're going to get to being able to do that, right? And it also allows you to see a different perspective because sometimes we're so locked in doing things our way that when someone comes with a different perspective and they beat us out, we're kind of caught off guard. So this at least allows you in a very safe, emotionally safe way without feeling like, you failed to say, okay, that's another way of looking at it. I guess I can fix that. Another thing you can do is ask AI, based off of my work experience, how would a top applicant play my hand in this interview to win the role? And the reason why that's a big deal is because sometimes we don't know how to play our hand. So if you are asking AI, okay, stay very faithful to what I've done. How would somebody else reframe this and talk about it? It will blow your mind seeing your experience used in a different way. And it'll get your mind thinking and it'll get you seeing yourself even that much more differently. And then the last thing that I always like to ask when I'm able to record and get the transcript, where were my weak areas and how can I close them? That way, by the time you go on to the next interview, those weak areas, they've become closed. They're managed. They're not signaling the wrong thing. What is that? I think I heard this saying about the halo effect versus the horn effect, right? So the halo effect, within the first 30 minutes, you can create this effect where you have the halo, where you don't even need to be perfect anymore. They're just like, man, they are good. So everything you say after that, they're looking at it from a place of good versus the horn effect when you kind of come off a little shaky very early on. And now they're looking at everything you say from a place of skepticism, right? And so this is helping to create that halo effect. So in closing, acing interviews is about self-awareness, it's about alignment, and it's about continuous improvement. So everything I told you, every last one of you should be able to go now and go be that top candidate for your next interview. Thank you.
Questions anybody has? Going on for the mic.
Thank you. Wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
I know that this isn't your first rodeo.
No.
At the very end, I'm a newbie to AI, as probably many of us are. I was intrigued by your last point, and that is if we can record the interview and get AI to dissect it for us and give us feedback, how would we tell AI how to differentiate between, if that were possible, between my words and the words of the interviewer in the actual recording?
That's really good. So a lot of these transcription apps, they can detect the difference between the two. I know like I use Otter because when I was in school and I was doing like my research and stuff like that, and as I was getting used to my voice, you even have portions where it's like, is this voice you? And then I can put my name over where they're breaking out the blocks or the paragraphs. So you know what you said. So when it records, it doesn't record with one big like story type of paragraph. It records it in the form of a conversation. So it can detect, hey, there's 2 people on this call. There's 3 people on this call, right? And so you can then go in and be like, oh, okay, yeah, these are my answers. And you can, begin to put your name in. But also, I think they've gotten a little bit better with being able to detect who's who in some of these note takers. Because I know at work, there were times where like I would be recording a meeting and it would be like, oh, okay, Catherine said this and Brenda said that. So it already knew who to attribute it to. And I think it's based off of the computer. Like somehow there's a signal that's like, okay, this is coming from their IP or this computer. I think so. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Anybody else comment? Hold on.
So I like the idea. Early on, you talked about doing a brain dump of everything you've done in your job. I was wondering if you had like a list of questions or prompts that could help you focus on that versus, I don't know how I would really start that. If you have like some ideas that could help start that.
Yeah. So what I did was, and because that's the great thing about AI, you don't have to like try to not be awkward. Be awkward. That's the one place you can be awkward. And you can literally go into the when you press record and be like, okay, listen, I just want to do a data dump of all of my experiences. I'm going to explain everything that comes to mind from A to Z. And I want to upload this so that I can begin to build my story bank and, use some of the prompts, that I gave later on and just start telling the story. I don't care if you start out with when I was a young warthog. AI don't know that. They don't care, right? The goal is get it out. Right. So like what I do is I'll use my chat GPT and I will load it into there. The reason why I do not speak it directly into chat GPT is because sometimes there's a time limit on how long you can talk. So I like to use the transcription device or the transcription app and even your phone. Yes. Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Even your phone, like I have a Samsung, it has like a little transcription thing on there or whatever. And what it'll do is it just allows me to talk straight through without cutting me off. And so you're just going to say, okay, so my first job started when I was, such and such, or my first corporate job. Like, say you just want to focus on all your corporate. My first corporate job started with this, and this is what I worked on, and just dump. The reason why I do not want you to start trying to be too perfect is because you will miss the memory recall that's happening in the moment. So just let it flow. AI does not care. AI is not going to be like, girl, you long-winded.
I love your tips about using AI kind of uniquely. The one knock you do hear on AI is that it sounds too much like AI. Any tips on how to incorporate your voice so it doesn't, I've actually gotten feedback, you sound like ChatGPT, but
perfect.
in a negative way.
Okay. No, that's good. That's good. So here's something that I actually do. Because I've used my AI and I've done so many data dumps, because that's another reason why the data dump is so important, because it's getting your natural language, how you naturally speak. Even when you are allowed to maybe record, say, a meeting that you have, not interview, but just a meeting or a conversation you're having, now you're starting to be in your natural state. So now you can say to AI, once you're uploading those transcripts, and I have this word, can you Brendalize the response? Because it knows I like to add humor. It knows that I like to sometimes put objections. I fight with chat all the time. Like me and chat, we'd be throwing down because I'm like, no, that's not correct because I know my stuff. Like, no, that's incorrect because this, article said dot, 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 dot. And it's like, okay, you're right. And is. Right. But then I also will put into because you know how chat is always trying to improve. I'll also say things like, hey, but do not overly agree with me if it is wrong. I do not want you yesing me, right? Because remember, it can hallucinate and all of the things. But if you notice, I'm not asking for it to create anything new. I am giving it my IP. And I'm telling it to recreate it, show it in a way that I have never seen it before. And then towards the end, add my voice back to it because it sounds too AI.
First, thank you for a wonderful presentation. I learned a lot of new things and I appreciate that. Second, as a newsmaticist, I love the gold analogy. Third, when I would never allow someone I'm interviewing to record the conversation. So what would you think of conducting a practice interview with AI and then using that to ask AI to analyze for the things that you were just discussing?
You can absolutely do that, right? So when I'm saying ask, it doesn't hurt to ask. Sometimes you don't have to ask. Think about when you join meetings, your AI note taker, it kind of joins automatically. So if they let it join, I'm not gonna say nothing. I'm just going to be like, okay, you let it join. Thanks. Right. But if you can't, that's why it's important for you to immediately take notes afterwards. Because then when you go take the notes, you can upload that and talk about it in chat to say, when we go to practice the interview, here's what they asked me in the interview, here's what I got. So can you create the mock interview based off of this? Right? So it still allows you to become more targeted. So
Any questions online? Unmute your mic and ask away. Questions, comments? There are a lot of good comments about really appreciating what you've presented so far. You'll get a copy of this presentation. It'll go out in the email tomorrow. Any other comments or questions?
Were there any questions in the chat?
I didn't any questions in the chat. Let's see here. No. Just go ahead.
You talked 3 or 4 times you talked about the. Thank you. 3 or 4 times you were talking about a note taker. Is that a specific application that you prefer, or is that just within the phone itself, like the Android as you were talking about a minute ago?
yeah, it could be, but no. I'm trying to think which ones because I stick with Butter, but go ahead. Someone else was going to say something because there's different note takers though.
I have an Android phone, and when I'm trying to dictate a text message, I spend more time correcting it than I do getting to send it out. That's not a slam on Android.
No. But that's why I don't just use that one. I use the Otter, but then there are I think it's like Read AI or something like that. There's different apps that you can get that have a note taker so that you can always record. So let's just say you are on the job and it's your first day and you're drinking from a fire hose. And so when you log on, they might have a note taker, which then helps you to go back, take notes, re-listen, maybe, I don't know, but at least they'll give you the notes, right? The summary where it'll jog your memory and then it helps close your learning gap and the time that it takes for you to learn because you're able to go back and kind of thoroughly and not miss anything. So it's different apps. So like I said, I have Otter. I think there's Read AI, and I'm sure there's some other ones. I just don't know all of the names.
Ron, yeah, I see you have your hand up. Go ahead.
So Brenda, you talked about a story bank, and I just want to ask you something that I haven't tried. But if you have a document that has all of your star stories, have you tried generating the list of questions from AI and then say, match the specific star story from that to this?
Yes, yes, I have. Now,
Okay.
here's the thing with the matching, the why I'm a little careful about it is because there's so many questions that
Yes,
you're trying to prepare for, and then you get in the interview and they do not ask you that question.
correct.
And so you spent like hours racking your brain, trying to jump and do all of the things. And then it's like, you didn't even ask me that question. I was ready for you. Right. And the two ones that you really know for sure they're going to ask you is tell me about yourself and do you have any questions for me? And one of the things that I teach a lot of my interview coachees is how to kind of lead them into the direction you want them to go from the lens of job experience. So you should be able to unpack that specific experience in many different ways, which is where your method, it does at least work that muscle, right? Because it teaches you to look and be able to speak to it in different ways. It's just that when you are about to go into game time and you are running scrimmages, you want to make sure that you're practicing the plays that you definitely know you're going to have to run. So that way you're not, you know, all over the place per se.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Florence.
One of the questions that I have is how can you, like when you're beginning the interview process, how can you kind of warm yourself up so that you kind of come out? Because sometimes just like tell me about yourself, how can you warm yourself up to where you're more natural, to where you can create that halo effect? And then kind of, if you can give an example like the tell me about yourself, what are some of the, like if you're going to tell me about yourself, how do you create that halo effect? Can you
Yeah.
kind of give an example of that?
Yeah. So two ways to do this. So, and I'm going to push you into leveraging AI. And the reason why is because this will be a major unlock with helping you during interview prep. But to warm up, icebreakers are great, right? Because if you can get them to maybe laugh, be more comfortable, it kind of helps you internally to relax, right? Because when you think about being nervous on an interview, usually it's an internal anxiousness. So if you can somewhat build some type of camaraderie, then that's great. So a great example is when I started, if you noticed, I talked about the snow out here, right? And I talked about cabin fever. And that automatically, yes, it helps the crowd, but it also helps me to know that I've connected with the crowd, right? Same thing in the interview. Same thing on when you are networking, right? So now when you talk about creating that halo effect, go back to when you do your data dump, you can ask chat, okay, I need my 30-second halo effect that I can immediately use before I go into my about me. Because like I have like different about me's, right? And that halo effect, you want to establish yourself the way you want to be seen. So I know that I am an executive, I am a thought leader. So I'll come out with, well, my name is Dr. Carter. I am an IO psychologist. I have over 15 years of experience in the talent management and leadership development space at Fortune 500 companies. And then I'll go into like a quick win, right? And then I might even throw in something like a pain point, right? Something that everybody in the industry knows we suffer from, and then solve it, right? So it's just like a template. But what I would say is leverage AI to help you begin to create that halo effect early on. And then just make sure all of your stories now flow in the direction of that halo effect.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem.
Doris, I see your hand up.
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Dr. Brenda Carter. Fantastic, really fresh, so authentic. I love the whole presentation. Thank you. I had an interview yesterday. And one of the things that I'm working on is avoiding the stall, right? I'm applying for executive levels. Like, I don't want to say, that's a good question. He knows you're stalling when you say that's a good question. How do I set it up so that I can say, I like to approach it like this to give my brain some time to catch up with what I wanted to connect to from an authoritative standpoint?
Yeah, I've done that before. So, two things, because remember, communications is two parts, right? So, it's what you say, but it's also your nonverbal communication. And so, some of what you're talking about is how to still maintain executive presence when you are trying to think and how to create the space for that. And that's okay for you to say, you know what, that was a really great question. Let me think about that. And then you can sit back in your chair for a second and think and say, you know what? Here you go. Now, what does that communicate? You pausing, especially at the executive level, pauses and strategic silence can actually add to your gravitas, so to speak, right? It can add to how you project and how you're perceived because it shows you're not just shooting from the hip. And you are opening up to allow them to see your thought process, which is super critical at the executive level because you're trying to show that you are strategic. So you, by creating space for yourself and maybe leaning back and saying, you know what, let me think about that for a second. This is how I'll answer that. What it does is it also presents authenticity to say, no, I don't know everything right away, but that doesn't mean I don't have an answer. I'm just going to create time for the answer. Because when you think about like at the executive level, you got board members that will throw you curveballs and you're like, no, I got to come back to you a whole nother day. Right? That's how you feel. Right? So of course, they want to see how you handle pressure. And sometimes that's on purpose. And so create the space to show how you handle pressure, but with a nice little signature on it.
Okay, anybody else in here online? Well, Dr. Carter, thank you very much for
Thank you so
coming.
much
Great
for having me.
presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, everyone online.
All right, coming up next week, being the first Friday of the month, we'll do open forum. We'll talk about whatever questions you have about your job search. So be thinking about them and we'll get them answered next week. On this video will get uploaded to the Career USA YouTube channel. Click on playlist when you go there and go to the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group speakers, and at the very bottom, view full playlist. So this video will get uploaded tomorrow and you'll be able to go back and watch it, as well as any of the other videos that we've posted over the last 4 or 5 years. I've got over 720 videos up online that you can go back and watch. Tuesday morning, I'm going to be presenting at Frisco Connect. So if you can come join us, I'm going to talk about the 4 areas of your job search that you need to focus on in your job search. So join us next Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock. Tuesday afternoon for LinkedIn Tuesday, Locke Alderson will be with us to talk about how to use LinkedIn for job hunting, strategies to get results. So that'll be Tuesday at 1 o'clock. Wednesday, the practice interview team is meeting in person right here at Christ United Methodist Church, Coit and Parker in Plano. If you can come join them, you will learn just as much by watching an interview as being interviewed, just to be able to watch somebody else go through the practice. And then next, as I said, next Friday, we'll be doing open forum. Coming up after that on the 13th, Friday the 13th, Jay Arbetter will be with us to talk about networking the old-fashioned way. If you've never heard Jay, he's got a great presentation and some great stories about how he's used networking in his career. Today, we're going to go to Country Burger. How many people think they're going to go so we can get a table big enough? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 or 9 will be great. So whoever gets here first, grab the big table in the back. Thank you very much for joining us, everybody. Have a great Friday and have a great weekend, and just try to stay warm tomorrow because I know it's supposed to be cold here tomorrow. And we'll see you all next week.